While spending time in your backyard, you might have fantasized about finding buried treasure. Or maybe you just wanted to complete that tunnel to the other side of the world your mom wouldn't let you finish when you were a kid. But many people have actually found crazy things in their backyard, from World War II bombs to sacks of cash. Prepare to be amazed by this list of the top 10 most insane backyard finds.
Amazing!
Number 10. Cursed cash. In 2011, an unemployed Illinois man named Wayne Sabaj was out picking broccoli in his backyard when he found something green. But it wasn't broccoli. It was $150,000 in cash. Well, who wouldn't rather have cash than broccoli, right? Sabaj did the right thing and turned the money over to the police, with the understanding that it would be returned to him if no one claimed it by 2012. Shortly after, an elderly neighbor of his claimed she got rid of the cash because it was cursed. Apparently, she realized how crazy that sounded and wanted it back, but then she died and the court decided to give the money to her daughter, with a portion going to Sabaj. Sadly, just 10 days before he was to get his cut, he died. Maybe that curse story wasn't so crazy after all. Number 9. Perfectly preserved Roman villa. A man named Luke Irwin of Wiltshire, England, was laying electric cable in a backyard barn so his kids could play table tennis there when he uncovered what looked like a mosaic. He sent a photo to the local council, and by the next day, archaeologists were crawling all over his backyard. It turned out he'd unearthed a well-preserved Roman villa, thought to be one of the largest ever found in England. The original house was dated to between 175 and 220 AD, and is believed to have been about 3 stories tall. Archaeologists also found high-status pottery, coins, and animal bones, likely from a meal. The owners of the home were probably very wealthy. No word on whether the kids ever got to play that game of table tennis, though. Number 8. $10 million in gold coins. Let's be honest, we've all dreamed of finding buried treasure. But for one Sierra Nevada couple, that dream came true. The pair, who wished to remain anonymous to prevent other treasure seekers from overrunning their home, were walking their dog in their backyard one day in 2013. While their dog was finding the perfect place to pee, they noticed the top of a rusty canister poking out of the ground. After unearthing it, they discovered it held many gold discs, so they rushed home to examine them. It turned out they were almost perfectly preserved gold coins from the 1890s. The couple later found 8 more cans, with coins that had a face value of around $27,000. Given the antique status of the coins, and the fact that many were in uncirculated condition, plus inflation, the coins were valued at around $10 million. Strangely, the US Mint couldn't link the coins to any theft on record. Number 7. Extinct creatures. In November of 2014, Eric Witzke and his neighbor were hanging out in Eric's backyard when they noticed something sticking out of the ground. At first, they thought they'd found a dinosaur bone, but it was later identified as a prehistoric mastodon, the cousin of the woolly mammoth. A paleontologist from the University of Michigan examined the bone and noted that it showed signs of butchering, so it may have been eaten by an early Paleo-Indian resident of the land. Meanwhile, a Suffolk man came across an interesting bone while building a fence in his backyard in 1997. He tossed it in a shed and forgot about it for 16 years, when he eventually took it to a local museum. Experts there discovered it belonged to a pliosaur, a reptile that lived about 250 million years ago. Interestingly, the pliosaur was not native to the English Sea, and no one is sure exactly how it wound up in the backyard. Number 6. World War II bombs. Some people just weren't cut out to be city planners. This was apparently the case with whoever decided to build a neighborhood over a World War II bombing range in Orlando, Florida. Since 1998, residents have been finding bombs and rockets in the backyards of their homes in a housing development built over the site. One was even found near a running track at a local school. More than 100 explosives have been found, and the Army Corps of Engineers has launched a large-scale cleanup of the area. Bombs have been found even more commonly around Europe, with multiple still being unearthed today, especially around London and parts of Germany. In fact, last Christmas, more than 50,000 residents from the German city of Augsburg were greeted with the present of an unearthed bomb, forcing them to evacuate their homes so that it could be defused. Number 5. Alien-like creature, probably a deer fetus. In 2015, California resident and avid social media user Gianna Peponis found a strange creature in her backyard garden. Unsure what it was, she recalled seeing strange lights in the sky and hearing something like a scream shortly before she found the pink slimy thing. Peponis uploaded a picture and spread it all over the internet, with many people commenting that it was an alien, while others thought it was a miscarried cow or deer fetus. Most eventually settled on the latter for an explanation, with Snopes rating the story as false and agreeing it was likely the deer fetus. The US Navy later said the strange lights reported that night were due to a missile test. To be fair, if it was an alien and ET needed to phone home, it would have been stuck here forever, since Peponis would have been using her phone to post pictures of it on social media. Number 4. A gold nugget and a valuable meteor. The gold rush on California may have ended in the 1800s, but it's still occasionally possible to find gold there. In 2011, a man was poking around his backyard with a metal detector when he found an 8.2-pound gold nugget. This massive piece of gold sold for $460,000, with the owner asking to remain anonymous to keep treasure hunters off his property. It's a clever move since experts say it's extremely likely there is more gold in his backyard. Meanwhile, some need not bother to search for the treasure, it just lands in their garden. One Serbian man living in Bosnia claimed he was being attacked by aliens after 6 different meteorites hit his house. Hopefully he kept them, because depending on their size and composition, some can be worth up to $25 a gram. One half-ton meteor found in Chelyabinsk, for instance, was put up for auction at 3.4 million pounds. Of course, if you see one land, you could just use it to light your cigarette, as David Stevenson of Leeds did last year, when a meteor landed in his backyard after the Perseid shower. Number 3. A bill for $5,000 and an Aboriginal skeleton. Many of the people on this list got lucky and found money or other valuables in their backyards. But for Ken and Nicole Sov, their find went the other way. Ken found some bones in his yard while digging a fence post. He thought they belonged to an animal and wanted to forget about them, but Nicole nagged him to find the rest of the bones. Eventually, they uncovered a skeleton that a local forensic anthropologist identified as that of an Aboriginal woman who had died about 400 years earlier. At that point, the Registrar of Cemeteries told the couple to have their backyard assessed by an archaeologist, at a cost of about $5,000 to them. Appeals to their mayor went nowhere. But eventually, a member of the provincial parliament urged them to declare the bill an undue financial restraint in the hopes the registrar would reimburse them for the cost, all of which could have been avoided if Ken had just ignored his wife and kept digging those fence posts. Number 2. $175,000 in weed. Mac Reed of Silver Lake, California, was just trying to be a responsible citizen and install eco-friendly solar panels on his home. During the installation, he opened an underground access vault below his hot tub for a technician to inspect, at which point he found an army green bag stuffed with marijuana and hash, all carefully bagged and tagged. He admits to considering the resale value of the drugs, but after also considering the drug lords who might be coming back for the bag, he eventually decided to do the right thing and report his find to the police. When he called, the cops said they were really busy and asked if he could just drive the bag to the station. Reed explained that he didn't think driving to the PD with 20 pounds of drugs in his car was a bright idea, and eventually they found a supervisor to come out and confiscate the find. Concerned about the criminals who might come back and find the drugs missing, he put a poster over the access door explaining he'd called the cops and they were now watching the place. Number 1. A Ferrari. Lots of kids like to dig in the backyard. Most just find earthworms and, if you're really lucky, a couple of mud-encrusted pennies. But in 1978, 2 Los Angeles kids found a 1978 Dino 246 GTS Ferrari. No, not a Matchbox car version, but the real life-size car. Local police helped excavate the car and discovered it was reported stolen 4 years earlier and buried by thieves. Strangely, no one living in the neighborhood at the time noticed anything unusual, like, say, a neighbor digging a car-sized hole in the backyard. Police returned the car to the insurance agency that had paid the claim after it was stolen, and it was put up for auction. We assumed it was advertised as recently cleaned and detailed. Eventually, the cops received a tip that the whole thing was an insurance scam. The owner paid thieves to steal the car, fence the parts, and destroy the rest, but they pulled a fast one and buried the car to come back for it later. What's the strangest thing you've ever found in a backyard? I'd be interested to know, so please let me know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe. We'll be making more videos like this in the future. It helps keep you notified.